football was uniting these girls. Like they're all from different backgrounds as well. Like you have Christians, Muslims, Hindus, and the way that they're all uniting and helping each other all through football.
Yeah.
That was so fascinating to watch.
Does it just boil down to sexism?
You had a hole in the floor and your hand. Just leave it at that. That's what you had.
So hello, we're here with Nav, Kiran and Priyesh.
Hello.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
Good, thank you.
So we'll kick off with Nav. If you want to explain what you do, Nav, obviously this is going to be a predominantly sports-based podcast, and we're going to be talking about Asians in football, especially, but sports in general as well. So Nav, football scientist, what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm a sports scientist at Arsenal Football Club. I've been there for around 8 years. My role is basically managing players and what they do via various pieces of equipment, from heart rate devices to GPS, and what we do is we report that information to the coaches, the medical team, and the players themselves. So we just inform them on how they're doing physically and how it can affect the week, how it can affect performance, and basically try to limit risk and injury and stuff like that.
How long have you been doing that for then?
8 years.
8 years. So, firstly, it's not a traditional career path, I guess, is it? Like an Asian person in sports. It's got the medicine flip side to it. Like you're doing well there. But how did you end up actually falling into it?
It was one of those things, like I wanted to be a PE teacher when I left college and stuff, but obviously everyone wants to be a footballer, right? That dream never came true. And I said to one of my best friends at the time, we were both playing, and he was like, we need an education, like let's go and do sport, let's go be a PE teacher. Went in through college, did all of that stuff, A-levels, and then we decided, oh look, the sports science has come up as a degree choice. And then I decided to move down south because when you're surrounded by like Asians and the family of Asians, like you kind of want your own space, you want to kind of be your own person. So I chose like basically the furthest away. So I moved all the way down to London, and I said, look, I want to start my life there, not only as a career and possible, just myself independently, and then end up moving to Hertfordshire and then start sports science.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's always been kind of a passion. It's been in the background to work with football.
Always, my whole life has been surrounded by football, and the fact that I get to do what I do now daily is literally like it's living a dream almost. It's tough, but at the same time, like when I look back at it and I look at how far I've come, it is definitely like the second best thing.
Yeah.
If I was 5 years old right now at 10, I'd be like, well, you do an amazing job.
With obviously from an outsider's perspective, I'm massive into sports, love boxing, football. Football's my main one. Liverpool in the top season. From an outsider's perspective, it always seemed like our Apneh, our people, like brown people in general, aren't fairly represented in all facets of sport. How accurate is that as somebody involved in that industry?
Oh, 100%. Like, from my time in elite sport now, I'm yet to see many people from an Asian background, an Indian background, come through football. And the people I've even surrounded myself by through uni, through friends, I've never seen anyone that holds the same kind of status or the same kind of passion towards sport that would get them at the elite level. So not only are we not in there, we also, the people that I meet don't really hold the prerequisites that would get you into sport or elite sport.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of limiting factor, is that we don't really know what it's like until we actually get exposed to it. And there's a fair few people, if they shared their knowledge and then shared that across the masses, we probably might see a big difference. And I think, like we said earlier, it's a generational thing. I think as the next generation comes in, if they're more educated, like we live in a world now that we can expose them to anything. So
yeah,
we can expose them to what they need to know, they can possibly make it in their sport.
That's a really interesting point. I think not to like make it over grand, but like what you're saying there, I think is a very unique and fresh take, which is it's not just about like, you know, white people or these top sports clubs doing, we need more Asians, we need more diversity, etc. It's about our own people taking responsibility for that. And obviously you do some work as somebody who's in there, and I think this is where you guys come into it. You do some work to bring more people in.
Yeah, it's like a domino effect, isn't it? Like you do the basics, you do the foundations well, leave the rest for the journey, and make sure when your foundations are strong that you're doing that to the best of your ability, and you get the support around you, and you just literally constantly challenge yourself. Physically, if it's a sport, or even obviously with Indians, we're very good in the kind of business world, we're very intellectual. So we hold that kind of attribute, So if you transfer that into sport, like look how different we could be if we actually put the same amount of effort in. With a lot of our Asian families, they've drawn us into being doctors, being lawyers. I hear the same saying, so I use the same as well. But it was only good if they could do the same in sport.
I think it's more predominant with our diaspora outside of India. You see India, you've got like the Olympics, weightlifting, boxers, you've got all of this. But then like you never see like a second generation immigrant, like Indian sports person coming through the ranks. You've got like Amir Khan, you can probably count them out on one hand.
Yeah, I think 100% you're right there. It's also, with the ones that we do have, we don't talk about them enough. We don't talk about how well they've actually done and what their journey was like. Like looking at an Amir Khan, looking at football players like Yan Danda and Hamza Chowdhury and people before him, and even coaches, like, why are we not talking about these people and just saying, look how far they've come?
Yeah.
And then when other people see that, one, it will break down stereotypes from a non-Asian background, as well as our Asian people, who are South Asian, they will actually might be inspired to, I want to do the same.
100%.
Right? Because the world of sport, it's not based on actually making money. It's the passion of the sport, right? Like everyone sees the glitz and the glamour, but the actual foundations of what gets you in is the ability to play the sport and the passion you have for it.
100%. And obviously now we're going to bring in Pri and Kiran as well. You guys are doing something that's going to actively challenge that, aren't you?
Yes. So we work on a project called Asians in Football, and
no, it's changed.
The name's changed.
What's
it changed?
It's changed into Apneh in Football. The reason why it's changed into Apneh in Football recently is because the word for me is basically one of our own. And when I say that, I mean like someone who believes in our vision, our mission, which is basically to educate, empower, and evolve, basically. And I think that can speak to any nationality, any gender, anyway. So that's what I mean by Apneh. It's a personal word, and football is just something I love as well. So I joined the two. So with the things that we've set up, I have next to me Kiran, who's the photographer for AF and the videographer in Priyesh. And there is also one other person, but he's not with us today.
He doesn't matter.
Fuck him. And I don't know if you want me to introduce what we did, or do you lot want to say something?
Let's dive into with you guys. Pri, how did you get into it?
So I actually met Nav at a friend's birthday party in November 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Was it last year?
I think it was
October, yeah.
Year before, 2020, bro.
We actually, yeah. It was, the way we met was kind of, obviously we were at this boat party. I love dancing. Nav's a bit of a dancer too, so our eyes met across this dance floor. We just kind of moved
So basically,
in a direction.
You were grinding on each other.
He had
quite
a bowler hat and a beige jacket, and I went, who's this guy? And then once I started talking to him, I don't think I could stop talking to you about my idea.
Yeah.
And he was just like, who's this guy? He's going crazy. And then he was like, look, I need you to meet someone. And then he introduced me to kids. And I did the exact same thing. Look, I have this idea.
Yeah, I think at the time, because obviously we were on a party, it was like, okay, how much of this is alcohol and how much of it is actually the truth?
Yeah,
so I just kind of went away. So I think same with kids, we kind of went away. It's like, okay, whatever happens. The next day, I'm talking like 7, 8 in the morning, I'm getting texts from Nav saying, yo, are you serious? Like,
I wasn't even awake till the afternoon.
So he's like, everything we spoke about yesterday, like, I'm serious about this. Like, let's take this forward. And then, so that was end of October, and then December we flew out to India. So
so that brings us on to not just Apneh in Football, but then the actual project, because if we want to go over those. So what's the actual specific project in India?
So the project is for a school called YUWA. It was set up by a guy called Franz from America now.
Mm-hmm.
So the aim is, in the area in India, is Jharkhand, there's a high rate of sort of like child marriage and abuse among young girls. And the school was set up to educate kids, and they use football as a way of team building, confidence building, and just generally like to get them away from the situations they're in. And Nav came across the school, and so he wanted to start the project. And once he met me in Priyesh, we realized it sort of had a snowball effect that it could become bigger than what it was. Because Nav was initially going to go and just film it on his phone. once he met me in Priya, she was like, right, I've got video, I've got photographer, this can become something better. So from there, in those 2 months, it was just planning, gathering equipment, doing research, me and him connecting a lot more, and trying to make sort of a rough script about what we want to do when we get there. But at the same time, there's not much out on the school for us to sort of gauge what we was going to get.
I don't think there was enough planning or talking that we could have done to prepare us for what actually happened.
Yeah, we could have gone through everything every day 100 times. When we got there, everything went completely out the window. Like in terms of what me and him had planned, everything just went out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was different getting there. I think it was all a bit of a shock once we landed.
So, I mean, you guys weren't just brought along with the approach. I was thinking that was white hair. That was like cookie residue. You guys
So
were bugging me.
It was bugging me, man.
You man was daggering. You guys, this is a tight group of friends. No, so back to the serious stuff. So you guys go out to the school. Is it just girls you work with there?
Out in India, yeah, it was girls, but they do have boys and men that actually do support the school. But generally, like the village, they don't really support the school, which is, and there's plenty of stories we can tell you which are actually really shocking. But
I mean, we've got time. Like, you know, anything you can talk about, feel free to dish on.
Yeah,
That'd be all right.
I think like the main reason for this, like from my point of view, and the trip alone and the project was my version of Sewa, right? Obviously, to give without an expectation and to do something to give to other people. I wanted to do it in like a grand scale that was related to the thing that I love, which was football. And when I saw this, I couldn't believe a place in India, girls, and what they were going through, they were using football. I couldn't believe that. When I had all them up, I was like, what? And they still got a smile on their face. And I've never seen girls play football, and 190 girls would turn up at 4 in the morning to play football.
At 4 in the morning?
Literally.
Yeah, we'd leave at 4,
Yeah, we'd leave at 4.
to head to training.
Why so early?
Because they would have to get there before sunrise, and because their pitch is so far away, and then they would only train for an hour, then they have to go back home to go to school, to do their chores. So like
They'd have to be home at 7 o'clock to do chores if they didn't. We had a training session cancelled because it was overrunning, and we're like, we just need 10, 15 more minutes. And they're like, these kids are risking like a lot if they're late getting home. And we just had to pack up and go sort of in like 10 minutes notice. Because it was that bad. If they're like that late getting home, so the situation could change. Yeah.
That's what we didn't expect to see when we were there, but we saw it, right? And then me going out there was just basically to do that act of Sewa and to give back. And I've obviously going through other stuff. I wanted to just literally do that act. It was inside my heart. And then I met these two, and they could document the whole journey. And I was thinking, what better way to start AIF and talk about us in football than actually going to India and showing us on a grand scale, look, this is what our community can do. What we're based off our foundations. Look at the sport as well. Like it was trying to almost show my community, show my culture, and then show the sport I love, and then bring the two together, and then go from there really. And what came from it was these bumping into these two, and then us traveling out there. We've documented the whole journey. And then with that, we're trying to put it out to the world to raise money for this school, to give them what they kind of asked of us, because they didn't want to come and live in England. They didn't want to go live in America. They were like, look, we want to stay here. We want to change what we go through.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But the one thing we love doing is playing football. And this is, you can imagine myself and yourself and everyone here that love football. Imagine a young 13-year-old kid, girl, who's surrounded by people that they don't have much. And they say that to you, you're like, you almost felt like, do you know what, I'm going to do my best to help.
Yeah.
And that's where it all started from. And then since then, we've been on this unbelievable journey trying to get our message out there. And it's been a rocky one to try and raise money for this school and try to change their lives and also promote the message of Asians for AIF.
Yeah, right. Man.
So the one thing that so obviously we've been talking for a little bit, and then Nav sent over a couple of clips on the website for the school and everything. The one thing that really hit me, especially about the trailer, was like, yeah, you marry those two things up perfectly. Like, yeah, this is football in India and stuff, but what it can actually mean for a community. And like those girls, like, yeah, and you were right, you know, vulnerable people, I guess.
I'm not a massive football fan. So for me, when I was going out there, I love storytelling. I think everyone's got a story to tell, and everyone's story is important. So when I met Nav, I was like, I'm not really too bothered about the football side, it's more the storytelling side. And doing this project, I've realised that sport and football specifically, it's another language. And it unites people on such a different level. And I'm seeing that more and more and more. And then the way that Nav talks about football now, and then going out to YUWA, and the way that football was uniting these girls, like they're all from different backgrounds as well. Like you have Christians, Muslims, Hindus, and the way that they're all uniting and helping each other all through football.
Yeah.
That was so fascinating to watch.
Yeah, I can imagine. What did you guys then specifically go out there to do?
So I took gifts from Arsenal, gifts from the teams that were coaching. So at the time we were basically coaching around the London area and coaching South Asians and about how to become better footballers, and they also jumped along and gave gifts, and then we tried raising a bit of money because we just wanted to go take something to give them. And then I got loads of gifts from Arsenal. I got loads of messages, and then we basically put all those messages together, and then we presented that to them on Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm.
And then during my time there, I just helped with their coaching sessions, I helped with conversations,
Right.
and then kids came involved with actually putting a whole like Nikon experience, was it, type thing, like where he gave them all. Well, I'll let him tell it. I'll let him speak about it, to be honest.
You've got a book?
No. Yeah, so I work and do some projects with Nikon. So when I pitched the idea to them, I said, if you can lend me some like cameras, just point and shoot digital ones to take with me for the kids. So they sent me about 15 cameras and like SD cards to go with them. And on Christmas Day, I just sort of put them all out on a table and was like, right, we'll have some fun. I'll show you how to take pictures and stuff. They didn't even hear that. They'd pick the cameras up and they were gone. But it was one of the craziest experiences, because at the end of it, they all come back, put the camera back in the bag, or if the battery died, I'll just switch out for them. And it was just, I come back at like 15 SD cards that were full of like photos. And I remember trying to find little things that I could try and teach them bits. And we found this, just a lizard on a thing, and they went mad. There's like 15 kids around this lizard. I got like 300 photos of a lizard. And they're taking selfies with us. And two of the girls were really interested in my SLR cameras. So I set it up so they could get pictures and just handed them over. So I didn't get much of them taking photos because they were just using my camera. There's a picture of me and Nav with, is it Sewa?
Yeah.
I think on the page. And that was taken by one of the kids on my SLR. And they come out like perfect. I was looking through them, I was like, they're sharp, they're in focus.
Yeah.
And they were so good with the equipment and just so eager to learn. It was just a complete shock.
Yeah.
And they even kept
They
them
just
at training.
completely
Every
embraced
time he wasn't looking, they're taking out the cameras, taking photos. And then two of them were climbed up in a tree we didn't even notice. And he's in the middle of talking. You hear like a crack of the branches. And two of them fall out of the tree because they've climbed up. I was talking about angles. So they've tried to get like elevated and they've climbed up in a tree and both fallen out. So it was just amazing to watch.
To answer your question, to give back in any way we could at the time, because it happened in 2 months. Like we had an idea, like I wanted to go out anyway, and I would have gone even if these two weren't here. And when they decided to come, we just tried making that giving experience to the grandest scale.
Yeah.
Whatever we could do, whether it be money, whether it be a message, whether it be kit, whether it be anything, and it just went crazy. Like Arsenal media were up there with us for a day, and they did the video that you've seen.
So they did that video.
They did that video. They put it out for us. They were supporting our journey. What else was there? Like all the players did messages for me. Like we signed a shirt for them. All the players that I would coach. Like we had I was coaching a whole Muslim community team, and they had all done videos and messages, and they supported
It was like 30 odd messages.
30 odd messages, and we presented that to them on Christmas Day as well. So it just literally showed like an all-male, dominant, Asian, professional, elite, all came together and supported this school, and supported what they were going through, and it all was football as the catalyst, right?
The thing there, you've got a multi-million-pound player who's a millionaire performing at the most elite, like the elite level, and like a girls' school over in India have now been connected by one thing. That's football.
And they ask about it every day.
Yeah, it's amazing. So you were coaching out there, Nav. We got kids on the photography, teaching these girls how to do everything. Pri, what the fuck were you doing? Come on, fam. You just sat there drinking your water and shit.
I used to tell them to dance.
So my job was to actually tell the story, put it all together. So I did a lot of the interviews. So I spoke a lot to the girls. To Sham, he was one of the staff members out there. So at the time, I was kind of getting into videography. So I wouldn't say I was necessarily great at it, but my skill set lies with being able to tell a story. And so I'd sit with some of the girls for maybe an hour and really get into the depths of their story and into who they are. And now we're sitting on like hours and hours of footage that I'm trying to put together for a documentary that's coming out soon in short episodes. So that was my role, telling the story.
Awesome. Now, obviously, we touched on it slightly earlier, so I guess these are at-risk girls. What are some of the risks that they face?
Varies, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, on a day-to-day basis, a lot of abuse. A lot of abuse.
Yeah, a lot of it starts from home.
It's hard to talk about because we still feel so connected to them. Like I didn't even tell you two, but last month I received an email from one of the girls to say that her English is quite broken, but you can make it out. And she was saying that things have been really bad for her, and she just can't stop crying. And she was alluding to the fact that the abuse had just got really bad. And I emailed her back, but I haven't heard from her. And it's things like that. It's like we're not there to. I don't know what's happened, and there's no way of me even finding out.
It was weird being there because although we wanted to make a difference, we couldn't specifically go in and like change like their lives. But I think we all sort of, as soon as we got there, within 5-10 minutes, these kids were going crazy. They're singing happy birthday to him. They all gathered in a room and they're like, oh, can you get Nav to come in here? Because it was his birthday while we was traveling out there. And they just erupted into like song. We've been there 5-10 minutes. And I think we all instantly sort of felt like older, like big brotherly, sort of that protectiveness. But it's not like we could just go into the house and like kick the shit out of one of their dads. And
yeah, I mean,
like we couldn't help them on that like individual scale. I think that was quite hard for us to take because as much as we was there and we knew it was making a difference, there was only so much reach we had to do that. And I think especially coming back and watching Pri's interviews, because me and Nav would be doing other stuff during that time. We're all on the plane sort of bawling our eyes out some of their stories. He had seen them and heard them, me and him hadn't.
Yeah.
So we're watching them on the plane. And you got like the Emirates lady asking if we want drinks. We're looking like, no, we're fine. Everyone's like 3 grown men sort of crying.
One of the first stories that really stands out was, I won't mention her name, but she was telling us how one of the neighbours had called her into the room and lured her in with a biscuit. Say, oh, you know the Parle G biscuits that you get out in India. They go, come and grab a biscuit. And obviously she went because you naturally assume she's 5 years old. You assume that obviously she's safe, and she told us that she didn't really understand what was going on, but then he raped her at 5 years old. 5 years old.
I think these stories aren't even just the odd one. Like I said, can be a daily occurrence. Like when we was walking to a couple of the girls' house, it was for their grandfather had passed. So out there they do 11 days of mourning. On the 12th day you celebrate their life and you're supposed to stop mourning. And I think Nav was hearing some stories along the way where our host was telling us this happened at this house, this happened at this house, something happened at this house. So it's happening across the board. It's not just a few individual cases. Out of the 400 children that I think were in the football program, all of them have probably suffered some form in varying degrees of domestic abuse. And it's just when you realize it on that scale, like you just realize how big of an issue it is.
Yeah, like I've got a few examples in my head, and I'm hoping you three can carry it on, elaborate more on it. So, God, it's a bit.
It's hard to talk about.
It is.
So one of the things is it's nothing to do with any of the girls there. It was the mothers out there, and this story for me was this like literally stays with me. Still, is one of the mothers like. We were going to training, this is at 5 in the morning. The host, Sean, was like, oh, if you hear a woman screaming and stuff like that in the morning, it's because basically she might have lost her head, and basically it's the only time she could be heard. I didn't think nothing of it the day before. The day of coaching, we're walking down. These lot are like 100, 200 meters behind me, filming, doing whatever they're doing. And I hear a woman wailing, I hear her screaming. And I'm like, what is going on there? And then because I'd been told what that was, I was just like, there's no way of helping her. Because that's the only time she can actually be heard. Because it's most silent. You're like, are you serious? Like, and I'm walking to training with these two, and I'm thinking, wow. And these young girls, they're listening to it, and they're staying strong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're accepting of that.
Their resilience is something else. Like when we was there, I've spoke to Pri about this now when it comes to the documentary. I was like, although they go through so much, when we was there, the way the kids were with us, it was just laughter throughout. Like you'd never think that they were going through what they were going through. Like they were just so happy being around us. And one of them said it, they go, when people have been there before, they don't really open up and tell them much. But like with us, they were so open, so like we can tell that you guys are here for us. You're not here for like another agenda to better yourselves. You're here to actually try and help us.
I'll show you that clip because she says like I've never felt so connected the way I feel connected to you guys, and it was hard to keep your emotions in at that point because it was such a nice thing to hear, especially when you've had other people go and try and help out.
They ain't normal people. This is Microsoft.
Yeah.
This is Lenovo. This is Real Madrid. These are all big brands here, obviously doing their social responsibility. But with us, it was literally like
it was level. It was just funded by three guys. Like we just went off our own back. We had no backing from anyone.
Exactly.
Like we went out the good of our hearts, like because we just saw something where we could try and make a change, even coming from something so small. That's sort of the whole aim of our project.
Coming back to why we're raising the money for a football pitch, because I've had some questions like, well, why it's just a football pitch? It's not just a football pitch. I mean, these girls are waking up 4 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, the football. It's not really. They don't have a football pitch to play in. We're traveling an hour, like on rice fields they're playing on. But also before that, the girls are waking up, I think, at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, so they can study, so they can do homework. So, and then they'll nap or do whatever they've got to do, and then they'll wake up at 4 o'clock. We're on the bus. We'll get to the pitch for about 5 o'clock, and it's just rice fields and stuff. But why the football pitch is so important is because of the stories we heard about the whole. Give you an example. There was one story I remember where the girls had gone to this particular football pitch, but what had happened was boys and men from the village the night before had broken glass and spread it all across the pitch. So when the girls are playing, they'll cut their feet.
Yeah,
that was just one story.
They have to keep moving pitches. The first day we went to training, there was about 15, 20 men and like younger kids, all boys that are playing. And Sham, our host, said a lot of the times they will just sort of run at the kids, charge them and scare them away because they don't want them playing there. And we're just like, if you're older and you're a bit, why wouldn't you maybe come and offer to coach, get them involved in the game? But they don't want them there. Or sometimes the farmer will be like, right, that's enough. And overnight, he'll plough the land up and put cows on it. So they come back the next day and they've not got a pitch no more. Right. So they had one right next to the school when the first day was walking, that used to be our first pitch. And now they're not growing any crops on it. They've just ploughed the land up and put animals on it. So it's not really serving a financial purpose. It was purely just to stop these kids playing football.
Does it just boil down to sexism then?
There's structural inequality there. It goes much, much, much deeper than just gender inequality. There's structural inequality. It's political. It's engraved. It's embedded in the politics.
It starts from birth for these kids. Like some of them don't even know when their birthdays are because they don't register it because they're ashamed to have girls. So what the school does is they let the kids pick their own birthday, and they've got a box. So all the kids they'll make stuff or they'll buy little things with the money, all put it in the box. And if one of the girls is like, I want that one on my birthday, none of the other kids will take it. If their birthday comes first, they'll leave it for the other student. And I think there was 5 birthdays on Christmas Day. There's a few birthdays on Boxing Day. But I mean, that's sort of the stuff the school is giving them. It's giving them that what they've not had. You know what I mean? But the fact that they don't know when they were born, they know their age, within the year, but they don't. Not all of them know the specific date because it's not even registered.
You've heard all that, Pri. What do you think?
Honestly, I think this would probably be the 17th episode. I've never been speechless. Like when you were talking about some of the stuff, it hits you in the chest a little bit, where you're thinking about, coming in. I was annoyed that the Bakerloo line was shut. Do you get what I'm saying? And you kind of sit here and just wow, man. People go through some mad shit. I think you guys are being a little bit more modest than maybe even the school's being more modest than it needs to be, because I kind of understand it. It's like a sense of hope, isn't it? It's escapism. I think that's what
It is that for a lot of the kids. They'll stay at the school when they're time off to study, but they'll just be at the school because they feel safe there.
Yeah.
Like that's what it provides for them.
I don't like the word escapism. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it has a connotation.
Like when I heard that, like all we saw from that place was positivity and happiness.
It was crazy.
Whenever I use the word escapism as well, I'm like, it's not what that is. I don't want to say that is.
Because a lot of them don't really want to even escape. So when we left, 3 of the girls amongst themselves, they all decided each one will give us a jersey each. And I walked with one of the girls to her house, and I was just sort of talking to her about sort of her situation at home along the way. So I was like, is it fine for me to go to your house if your dad's there? And she's like, no, he'll be at one of the off licenses drinking. He won't be back until the evening, which is when she doesn't really want to go home. And she spoke about her mother and her brother had moved to a different part of India to sort of restart their life. So it was just her at home. And she said she wanted to go to uni. She wanted to be a doctor. And I was like, so once you do that, would you want to move abroad or come back? And she was like, no. She goes, I want to come back right here and help the situation. She goes, because it's not my dad's fault. It's just sort of a perpetuating cycle. You know, if you have a male that's an alcoholic that beats his children, he has a son, that kid grows up with mental issues. You know, the unemployment's high. He ends up tending to drink, falls into depression, does the same thing to his kids. And she was like, it's not.
What was this girl?
She was 15 or 16 at the time. And she understood. She was like, it's not my dad's fault. He's the way it is. It's the area. And she goes, and so many people in India are becoming doctors and then chip into another country. She's like, I want to come back to the hospital here and help. She goes, because it's not my dad's fault. She's like, I can fix him. She goes, I just need time and the education, but I can fix him. And just that resilience, I was completely gobsmacked. Because like now I'll be like, oh, I'm out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. It's escapism, but then you hear something like that.
Yeah, like something like that happened to me at home. Our mindset is like, cool, you know what I mean? Your parents slap you, like, cool, fuck you, I'm moving out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But they understand that it's just built into that area.
It's like a different level of emotional intelligence and understanding.
100%.
They're so articulate the way they convey everything.
Because obviously I interviewed them. Sorry, to cut that.
No,
because obviously I interviewed most of them. Like one of them, there was one moment I remember in particular, and I was interviewing this girl, and in my head I was just thinking, I wish I could just take you out of here and bring you to London, and give you the life that you actually deserve. Like I don't know, you bring people over, sponsor them, all that kind of stuff. Like, and then it's like she knew what I was thinking because she answered it. And she goes, people assume that we want to be taken out of here and go to like America and England. He said it's not that. She goes, what I do want is I want the opportunity to educate myself enough. Once I've educated myself enough, I want to come back and start a social enterprise that teaches women how to start businesses, how to look after themselves, how to look after their finances, so they don't have to depend on the men. And I was blown away. She was 15 years old, and she was telling me.
We were blown away by their sort of intelligence and the way they would convey their emotions and ideas. We were stunned just at how intelligent.
Yeah. As soon as we got there,
she was writing
her. We weren't even supposed to be filming. These two got their cameras out anyway because they just film everything.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter for them. And straight away, the first person they spoke to, I think the group of girls they spoke to, one of them was like doing a TED talk in January.
No, it went really well. Yeah, she emailed us once it was done.
I'm like, I would love to do a TED talk.
Yeah, that's been my dream.
I was on the plane watching TED talks. It was like, for a young girl in the middle of nowhere with next to nothing, again, so articulate. Like she showed Pri the speech that she was going to do. And,
he wanted us to read through it.
It's not my handwriting. And I was just like, straight away, you're more intelligent than I am.
It's amazing though, like, although to be fair, Pri, your offer did sound like an arranged marriage offer, so like, I'm not surprised you turned it down. I wasn't sure what I wanted. I was like, shit, this shit's getting too heavy. I was like, should I dive in there? I want to take you away from this shit.
Can we cut that out? That's the part.
Pri's part of the problem.
Just to clarify, that's not what I meant.
I don't want to disrespect the work you're doing either, but it's like, I fully appreciate it because like when I went to India, I think part of the reason for starting the podcast is us, as in Apneh, calling these problems out and doing something about it. Because like I've always found, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I've always found the complex of a white saviour to be wrong. You know how you have these comic reliefs and stuff and all this shit, where they go and they make poverty porn. That's what they call it, isn't it?
Yeah.
When I went to this girls' home where it's abandoned girls and stuff. It's over in Punjab in London, and I was the same. I got all like fucked up about it, like I'm visibly distressed. And the baby that was running it, she was like,
It's a great organisation that I think I know what you know about it. Oh,
Yeah, it's amazing. So they save these girls from like that been discarded in rubbish heaps and all that. And she tapped me on the shoulder like this BB who's like in her 60s, 70s. Me fucking, like fucking I'm getting all in my feelings and shit. She turned around, she went like this. Generally, she went, fix up. Like, don't look so glum. She's like, these girls are happy now. And I was like, wow. And I had like a 5-minute conversation with her. And she was like, we don't want them to be sad. They would have had that if they had stayed where, they wanted. And I was like, that's the mentality these people have. It's not, woe is me.
Yeah.
It's, let's fix this situation, give them happy lives. And it sounds the exact same with this.
Yeah, I think that was the shock for us when we got there, was just the happiness of it. And that's what I said. When it comes to the editing, I go, because there is so much to talk about that's bad there. But the entire time we was there, we didn't physically see it or really encounter it. Like, none of the girls went through a bad patch while we was there. So the entire time we was there, it was just laughter. Like the training sessions, doing the photography, pre-talking to them, obviously he got a lot more deeper stories out of them on a one-to-one level. Yeah. But in terms of our time spent with them, it was just fun throughout. Like, we played games and all sorts.
Yeah, just to interrupt there, with the stuff we're trying to put out now, even though it's so deep, like when you watch it, we're trying to sell what these girls go through, but at the same time, it's exactly what Kiz has just said, is we're trying to show what we went through and how, even though they go through a very tough time, they made us feel so welcome. They had smiles on their faces, and we want to show that side as well. Like, we want to convey that message. And I can't agree with you.
Yeah, I think like on the first day, they all walked us to our guest house to show us, because if we walked along the main road, it would have been like an hour's walk, but we cut through all these little fields. And they sort of took us along the way. And when we got there, they took my camera from me and photographed us outside the guest house. And so I think the owner of it is connected to the school, like mutual friends. They knew who he was. A couple of the girls lived right behind where we were staying. So in the morning, we would end up walking with them to where the sort of temporary bus stop is, where the kids would have a little fire going to keep warm until the bus got there. So it was a real community element. In the evening, they would stay at the school with us as late as possible just to see what we was up to before they'd go home. And it was just, they sort of looked after us.
Yeah, it's like
to some degree.
You mentioned emotional intelligence as well. We didn't know what to expect when we got there, because we thought, obviously, these girls go through the abuse on a regular. Like, how are they going to be around with 3 grown Asian men? Like, were they going to be scared of us? We walked in, and I've interviewed a lot of people, and one common theme that comes up is love and how important love is. When we walked in, I don't think I've ever felt love as pure as that.
They have it in abundance.
Like, yeah, it was. We walked in and they made us feel so comfortable. So they were just singing "Happy Birthday" to Nav. Like, you'll see it on the first episode that goes out. Yeah. But there was so much love in that room and so much happiness.
That was a weird one. Me and him were filming and looking at each other. I think the emotional side kicked in for me and Pri a lot later, because taking it from that creative element, I was sort of just behind the camera a lot of the time. Like, we got to get this. And it would be later when I'm going back through that I'd reflect on it. So when they're singing "Happy Birthday," me and Pri looking at each other like, hey, this is fucking sick. And he's standing there like bawling, because he wasn't expecting it. They told us what they were going to do. He was emotionally heightened. Because they told us that they were going to do that. Like, we heard it was his birthday. Can you bring him to this room? So like, Nav, come on, we just need to sort of talk to you about something. We walked in, and like I was saying before, it just erupted into singing. And we was like, shit, we were just so taken back. Because again, we didn't know what to expect. We thought they were going to be very sort of solemn or scared of us, because, we're sort of grown men.
Imagine this. I have not known these 2 individuals next to me for more than 2 months. Don't know. I've persuaded them to come with me on this trip. I get to India, to a place that I've never been to a part of India I've never visited, to a school I know no person, even the host had messaged me and say, find your own way here. Like, no one's picking us up. And when we get there, I'm sat there thinking, wow. Then when it hits you all at once, we walk into the school and I'm like, okay, I'm nervous now. I don't know what these are to expect. There's nothing around here. And I'm looking at these 2 and they look the same. But as soon as the girls were introduced to us, they literally took both of these. They took my worries away. They took these 2 and were talking to them.
They just surrounded us.
The whole morning of that when we got there. And then I was stood there watching these 2 and I was like, wow.
We ended up just shoes off, sat on the floor for the first few hours, just talking.
I was just about to say, if I was you now,
I was like, what about me?
If I was you now, I would have been actively vexed. I would have been like, I saw this whole shit out.
Just kick a football in the room. Let's play.
Lights out, girls, lights out. I practice early in the morning.
You keep talking to him with press ups.
Yeah.
It must have been an amazing experience. Like, and I know that this wasn't the objective, but on a personal level, it must have been an amazing experience for your own development.
I think it changed everyone to some degree for the better when we come back. 100%. Everyone was a bit different.
100%. That small scale of performance Sewa that most people do every weekend and stuff like that, I wanted to try to do it on a big scale, on a grand scale, especially when I met these two. Otherwise, it was just going to be me going out there and doing my version of it. And then when these two came along, it went tenfold. And the experience was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So much to a point we couldn't even manage it when we got back. We had all of this footage, we had so many things coming out, and we were just sat there thinking, wow, like, still reflecting on the trip. Like, there's bits where Pri's interviewing me, and I'm like, I can't really talk to you right now. I'm overwhelmed with this whole thing. Like, I can't really shut this off and then start being someone that you can interview. So now you have this whole new appreciation to people that actually do these kind of projects, because I was stood there and I was just immersed in the emotion of it all. So that's my
Right, that's the first time. Is that for the parking?
That is for the parking.
Oh, so it's cool. We're going to wrap up anyways. We've got like 10 minutes.
20 minutes.
Oh, okay,
20
cool.
minutes. So
Awesome.
that's on the podcast. But yeah, I forgot what I was saying.
You're talking about being immersed in the experience.
Yeah, immersed in the experience, and it was just a crazy experience.
I mean, you're bare easily distracted, bro. Like, that was one alarm. I did want to pick up on one thing that we were speaking about, and I know we've done all the serious stuff and shit, but I mean, living in India for a little while must have been fucked up.
Oh, cheers, bro, for that. Yeah. Do you guys want me to take this one?
Yeah, go on.
Firstly, is it anybody's first time in India?
No.
Okay, cool. Right, so
In this part of India, yes.
Yeah.
What part of India was it again?
It was Ranchi, Jharkhand.
Northeast.
Northeast.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. So that's different to where I've been. I've obviously been in Punjab a lot.
Yeah, same.
Like
Same,
Delhi.
same.
So that must have been, like, I mean, which, India is like the motherland and everything, but bit of a show. Like, was it?
Yeah, it wasn't great there.
What's the thing that hit you the most first? Speaking as a half white guy, what hit your what hit your half white side first?
The smell when we hadn't yet showered. Just like,
Oh, yeah, on the way back, his smell. I'm used to India. I'm used to
Febreze out here.
that
Chanel
oud.
blue.
I don't even know. Like, it's weird. Like, it was complete. When I went to India, I stayed with family. So it's a complete different experience of staying in like a guest house where we had an electric heater. The three of us are sharing a bed because it's that cold at night. At home, it probably wouldn't be that cold, where you got concrete floors, no insulation, windows that don't shut properly.
It was sub-zero temperatures.
It's freezing. It's like 4 degrees in our room, and we got heater. You got power cuts at night, so you're nice and toasty, and then you wake up and you're freezing.
That was given to us as well.
And then the guy fixed it. He was really good to us. I think we just overused it because it was that cold and it burnt out.
Shout out to Popo.
Yeah,
his
he
name.
was.
And like with all the footage that comes out in the next few months or so, like behind the scenes, what actually took
Yeah,
to
when you
make-
see the
to get
episode on bath time.
Oh my god! When you see the episode on what it took to have a shower, it was a crazy experience.
Yeah, the lack of toilet paper was definitely an experience.
Did they have the little squirty bum gun things?
No,
This is the whole-
well,
this is
no,
the
the
whole
squirty
floor.
you had a hole in the floor and your hand. Leave it at that. That's what you had. So my best Christmas present ever was in India when I managed to steal some toilet paper from the hotel. Because there was none. We had to eat. We ate at the hospital, which was right opposite where we were staying, because that's the only place they trusted. And I guess they don't even believe in serviettes. I was trying to score some serviettes. I was like, even if they're rough, it will do. But it wasn't even that.
And it's so
We were
funny.
getting nothing.
When we got told the only place they trust us to eat was at the hospital, like even then we were still a bit reserved, and like I didn't eat much on the first day. I don't know about these two, but like come the second day, third day, we went in on the hospital.
Yeah.
Like, whatever
It
they
was
give
the
us,
best food,
We were
like-
like, look, give us this food, man. We are starving, and it tastes so good as the days went on, right?
The chai was just
Yeah, I think it was once we
We're so
found
thankful.
our space there, we found settled, wasn't it?
And one of the basically the servers there, his daughter.
No, it was the chef. It was the chef.
The chef.
Yeah.
So when at the third day, they were told that we were coming and where we were from. He was like so thankful to us. We were like, look, there is good people as well. And he was,
We got extra tea for that.
extra tea and like little things like that, right? That was a great experience to have. to meet like, actually the father of one of the kids that went to the school.
Yeah, I think because once we'd found where we were staying and then we realised we was eating, then we had that structure. We were like, right, we're comfortable now. We know we can go here for food. We know we can go there for sleep. I think then we all sort of settled down and fell into that routine because we'd only eat at the hospital times, like breakfast, lunch, dinner. So it was just our 3 meals a day. And that was where we'd have our little meetings. Again, I even searched the hospital for toilet paper, didn't have
We
any.
adapted quick.
Yeah.
The only thing that would make us feel any uneasy is that when we look at each other at certain moments and go, okay, that's a bit much, but all right, let's go.
What, like when we were sleeping?
Like when we had to take some of the gifts on Christmas Day, like I'd got so many gifts to take to him.
Yeah, packing that was
to pack that
an episode in itself.
to take it to the school. There was no transport; it was too far. So the short story kids jumps on the back of this little moped with 2 suitcases, no helmet, with a kid in front, and he goes, "Yeah, okay, let's do this." And he's just gone. Like,
Yeah, so it was baby, the rider, suitcase, me on the back. Like literally, I think I might have even been holding on to his kid. Like at one point, like reached around and just holding on to him. I was like, if we go down, I'm going to use him as stuff on my landing. Yeah. I was like, you put me in a situation.
I got left on the motorway so they could pick the rest of the people up.
He got dropped miles from the school.
He come running.
Because you can run. I looked and it was just pitch black. You know what India's like? Like pitch black, running on the side of this motorway, trying to get back. And kids had got there. No, Pri had
I was left at the school. I was left at the school.
Pri was got there. Why did it take you so long? Oh, I had to
run. He was back chilling. I got left at the school and it was pitch black. And the rider went to take him off. And then Sham, our host, he was there with me for a bit. And the school had like 2 dogs that would follow him. So I was like, cool, I've got the dogs here with me. He jumped on the moped to go home. I thought the dogs would stay. They go after the moped chase because they're going home with him. So I was like, fuck, I ain't even got the protection of the dogs now.
It was
so
literally
I'm standing there in the pitch black, just seeing shadows walk past. I'm like, well, who's coming for me? You know, who wants it? And then I'm just waiting for the little sound of the moped coming back down the road. Yeah. Like 20 minutes later, and it's like a 5-minute ride. I was like, where did you go? In this time, I'm standing here with equipment in a suitcase. I was like, mate, come pick me up in it.
What an experience! So I think we're wrapping up now. But like, what can we as like listeners and like people who weren't involved, what can we do to like help the project and the school?
Yeah. So the project in itself is to raise money for a football pitch. Obvious reasons will come out in more episodes, but we want to give these girls a place of hope, a place of happiness, a place they don't have to travel at 5 o'clock in the morning to get to, and they have to keep changing location every so often. We want to give them that football pitch. It's not just a normal football pitch, it's an all-purpose, 4G, floodlit, they can play whenever they want, right next to their school. It's something that they can use at any time for as many kids as they want.
Safely.
Big word, safely. And it's something that they would love as well. That's a massive gift, and we want to give that to them. And we want to give that alongside people that believe in our message, and also believe in the girls. And then hopefully we can do that, and then it'll be something that sits there for a lifetime, right? Yeah. You imagine it, a bend in India, it's just got a random full football pitch, 4G, 4G, you just sat there going, that's the power of sport.
I'm with it.
Some people might not think it is, some people, but I don't care about those people that don't believe it. I care about the ones that know that will make a difference to kids that don't have enough for it much, but they do need some time where they can just chill out and play a game and be happy. Sport does that.
Is there a target figure or anything, or is it just give what you can and we'll see where we're at the end?
Yeah, so the target figure is 100k, but we split it up into 3 phases because we know things take time, right? So it's 33k, and the last 1,000 we've already kind of raised previously of last year. And if we can reach 33k, we can then basically send that money out to India and actually show you where it's getting used, and possibly get the people that are going to build the actual pitch to start. Do you know what I mean? So it actually is starting to go, rather than us getting the 100k, you never see it again. I want to get things in motion as money comes in, and obviously you need a bigger deposit to do stuff like that. Yeah. So that's kind of the plan. So it's in 3 phases. The end goal is 100k.
Yeah, I think there's no shame here in asking, but when the episodes do come out, like, just everyone who does watch it, please just share it and like it, because just share it, because awareness is the most important thing as well. Like, the more we talk about it, the more people are aware of it, the more people will help. So
£3, that's all we wish for you to donate. Links in both bios of both pages, and hopefully on your 2 pages as well. But
Of course.
And just the idea is to reach three people. Like
Yeah.
we've been a whole year trying to reach that one person with the money in his pocket, and we have come across unbelievable hurdles and stumbling blocks. So we've gone through big companies and literally been turned down the whole year. This is our second go at it, and we're trying to go through people that actually don't have much. We don't have that 100k, don't have that 10k. We want £3, and then if we can reach 33,000 people, that's 33,000 people that believe in us and believe in the girls, and that's more powerful than what.
And with it, we'll put all of the links and stuff down in the description below as well. Thank you so much, guys. Like, honestly, fucking inspirational shit, and just hearing about like that.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, thank you. It's been cool.
Appreciate it, man.
Wicked. What an episode. That was amazing, man.
Cheers, guys. I was bricking it first. I saw it.